As a 49ers fan, I've watched a ton of 49ers football, and there's been so many ups and a lot of downs. I mean, think about the years of Jim Tomsula, Blaine Gabbert, and all of the debacle after the Harbaugh years. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about this team. And this team has something that I haven't noticed in a 49ers team, I don't think ever. I've never watched a 49ers team like this. It feels like they have destiny on their side. And I think they might have found the guy in Brock Purdy. Actually, I think he is the guy. I think Kyle Shanahan finally has the quarterback that he's always wanted. And he has something added onto the quarterback he always wanted. Because while Brock Purdy is seen as an unathletic quarterback, he's actually very athletic and able to escape the pocket, improvise, and kind of make up for when Kyle Shanahan has an off play. And I know everyone calls him a genius, but he still makes mistakes like all of us. And in the past, when Kyle Shanahan's play calling wasn't absolutely perfect, Jimmy Garoppolo struggled. He would often throw interceptions or take needless sacks. With Brock Purdy, he's much more of a cool and collected quarterback in the pocket, and he really understands what the defense is trying to do to him and where his reads are. And I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. I think Brock Purdy isn't going to fall off an edge. I think he's going to continue to play at the high level he's been playing in. And I think he's going to continue to elevate this team, and I think he's the franchise quarterback for the 49ers going forward. While all that's being said, Kyle Shanahan has had an issue keeping his quarterbacks healthy. So I think that there's no reason to move off Trey Lance, even though everyone's saying we should. It's not really even feasible economically. They would take a huge hit in dead cap space. But the story of Trey Lance and Brock Purdy is for the offseason, not for right now. Because, well, Brock Purdy is the story right now. He's playing at a lights out level, and I just saw a stat where he's first in so many categories. Let me read it off to you. Since becoming the starter in week 14, his passer rating is first at 119. His passing touchdown is tied for first at 11. His pass touchdown per attempt is at 8.9%, and that's first in the league. His pass yards per attempt is 8.85, and that's first in the league. And his wins of 5 is first in the league. And I already hear a lot of people saying, well, Jimmy Garoppolo did that back when he first came here. But the difference is the amount of points that Brock Purdy is putting up. If you include the Dolphins game where Brock Purdy took over for a 49ers team that was losing at that point, he's averaged 33 points per game. While the other quarterbacks for the 49ers has only averaged 22.63 points per game. As a 49ers fan, this may offer some insight about the Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan dynamic. Kyle Shanahan, I used to see it as a problem, perhaps the reason why the 49ers weren't putting up as many points as they should with such a talented offense. But perhaps the reason is that Jimmy Garoppolo simply couldn't efficiently operate in an NFL offense. And this might be why a lot of teams decided to pass on Jimmy in this last offseason for a starting gig, and even though so many teams clearly needed a starting quarterback. But this video isn't to focus on Jimmy Garoppolo because it's clear that with other quarterbacks, Kyle Shanahan struggled even more. So maybe it just highlights how important finding the correct quarterback for his system is to him. And that's not to say Jimmy Garoppolo won't go thrive in another system, but I think he found his guy in Brock Purdy. And Brock Purdy just continues to check off all the boxes for me, and at some point, you have to believe what you're seeing with your own eyes. And I mean, if he continues to play as the level he is right now, he's playing like a franchise quarterback. In the future, we're not sure if we're going to give him $50 million, but currently, he's showing he has enough skill to win the Super Bowl. I mean, we could highlight last game where Brock Purdy threw that beautiful touchdown pass to George Kittle. He's looking like a Pro Bowl starting quarterback. And honestly, if he doesn't win Rookie of the Year, I'd question it. Because while there's other receivers that have put up really solid numbers for rookies, he's a quarterback going into the playoffs with the possibility to lead the San Francisco 49ers to their 6th Lombardi trophy. And that beautiful throw wasn't the thing that impressed me most about Brock Purdy. In this game, he unveiled a new skill of his that he had stashed away, and that was his ability to change his arm angles and make these throws where there was a defender in his space, but he would change his arm angle as to avoid the defender and throw it. I think 3 of them went incomplete, but 1 of them was a completion. And even though you can look and say, well, all of them went incomplete or most of them went incomplete, Yeah, but you're missing the point that he's establishing himself as a true NFL starter, and having that ability is something a lot of starters in the NFL don't have. And after the game, Grant Cohn, who is a reporter, asked about this, and Brock Purdy credited his baseball, specifically I think shortstop, for developing that technique. And if you guys didn't know, Brock Purdy's dad played in the minor leagues for baseball, and he helped Brock Purdy develop himself as a thrower and as an NFL athlete and as a player that can take coaches' criticisms. And that's another aspect of Brock Purdy's game that I absolutely love. He's a player that's in love with football. It's obvious if you watch him or hear him talk about football. That's what's on his mind, and he's locked in. And every time that anyone talks to Fred Warner about this guy, Fred Warner will even tell you every single time, I'm not surprised by what he's doing. He's been doing this the whole entire time. He goes to work, he's getting after it, he's hungry. And can you blame him? As being called Mr. Irrelevant countless times, wouldn't you be hungry to prove people wrong about who they think you are? Wouldn't you want to show off that you have the ability to lead an NFL team? And I think that's something that's lost on a lot of folks. I love how we just give all these players so much props in college and then expect them to be the NFL athlete without them proving anything against NFL starters. Brock Purdy had to basically come in, show that he was the guy. No one was expecting anything about him, and he was not given anything. He had to work extremely hard to get in the situation he was. And I'm sure the 49ers didn't even expect him to make the roster. So we first had to beat out Nate Sudfeld, and so far he's playing better than Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo, and I'm a huge Trey Lance fan. The NFL has had a philosophy for a while now that you just need to draft a quarterback really high and then start them. But what position else does that work for? Not really any other position, so why would it work for quarterback? I mean, think about if the 49ers started all their early round draft picks on running backs rather than their late round draft picks just because they were picked earlier. You wouldn't have Elijah Mitchell, you'd have Trey Sermon. You wouldn't have Jordan Mason, you would have Ty Davis Price. And I know in the last game, Ty Davis Price looked all right, but give me Jordan Mason and give me Elijah Mitchell over both those guys. And you know what? Give me a Brock Purdy over Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo on his rookie contract. Because Brock Purdy is still a young, humble athlete that's hungry. Think about how much he has to prove in the NFL to even stay in the NFL for a prolonged period of time. And he's not making millions of dollars, and he's not seen as the franchise. He has to go out and prove every single day, every single game that he's the guy. And he's doing that. He's doing that by his work ethic. He studies countless amount of time. I mean, Dre Greenlaw is his locker mate. He's pretty close to him. And he says that he's always studying in his locker. And when Brock Purdy was questioned about his studying habits, he said he's been doing it since high school. And I think that just highlights that this is who Brock Purdy is through and through. He's a competitor, and there's very few athletes like that. I compare him to Tom Brady in his competitive nature. So with Brock Purdy, I don't think we have to worry about him making it rain on anyone in the offseason or during the season or going on certain dates or anything like that. I think we'll have a quarterback that's just locked into the process, much like Tom Brady is in the offseason. And I think that you can even see this because of his pre-draft. In his pre-draft, he added 5 miles per hour to his ball. So he really increased his miles per hour. And I think that shows what type of competitor, athlete, and what type of mind that Brock Purdy has. He's able to absorb information and apply it effectively to his game. And in the NFL, you can honestly see that he's a better thrower than he was in college. And Brock Purdy will be the first one, I'm sure, to admit this. And this goes into the way that he prepares that I was talking about earlier. You're not going to expect Brock Purdy to be bewildered in the playoffs. At least I don't. I think he's going to be more than prepared. He's going to be locked in, and he's going to be ready for whatever the other team throws at him. And the question is Brock Purdy going to be able to respond as quick as other teams are going to respond to him? Because soon there'll be a book out on Brock Purdy. And there'll be his tendencies, and a lot of those tendencies will be things that he does on third, second, even he might not know exactly what the tendencies are, and that's when the real challenge begins. How is he going to respond to those? Because there's been countless quarterbacks that have come in late, did well, and then faded off. Look at Jimmy Garoppolo. He was killing it, then he got figured out. Is Brock Purdy going to be the same case? My bet's no. I think they found their franchise, at least for the next 4 years until his rookie contract's over. I guess it's 3 now. And as a 49ers fan, I haven't watched a quarterback like this in my lifetime. I think that Brock Purdy is one of the coldest collected quarterbacks I've seen on the 49ers. And I don't know how that's possible because he's a rookie. So I would expect that maybe as a veteran he would be this way. I just hope that he's able to continually upgrade his game and stay up to date with the league. Another thing that could concern a lot of people is his arm and his physical limitations, because he isn't the tallest quarterback or the biggest quarterback, and he takes a lot of hits. So maybe his health could become a factor. But overall, I see the 49ers just winning the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy this year. It feels like a team of destiny. And not just that, the team around him is so loaded. I didn't even speak about Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, Jordan Mason. These are the guys supporting Brock Purdy. In college, he didn't have any of these guys, and maybe that's why he fell in the draft. A lot of players are really bolstered by the team around them. I mean, think about if you have a great team around you, you feel like you're unstoppable. But Brock Purdy probably never felt that way in college, but I bet he's feeling it right now because he's surrounded by Hall of Fame talent. So with my prediction for the 49ers to win the Super Bowl, I obviously picked them to win against the Seahawks, and I'm going to pick them to win 30-21. I don't see this offense slowing down, but I could see Lenore getting beat in coverage once again because he is the weakness along with the offensive line. So now that I gave you my thoughts on the San Francisco 49ers and Brock Purdy, I'd like to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. I'd also really appreciate it if you guys like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this content.